Welcome, everyone. It's Ethan again, and I'm here with Thomas Covington. And if you're interested at all in kind of building generational wealth, creative ways of expanding your business, and especially one of the things we were talking about on one of our pre-calls is the idea of giving back and incorporating faith as well into all that we're doing. So I'm really excited to be talking with you today. Thomas, where are you calling from?
We're in Bristol, Tennessee right now.
Good. All right. And it's good to have you. So one of the things that came up a lot was that family has always kind of been a big thing for you. It's kind of directed some of your decisions with business. And so I just love for you to kind of give just maybe an overarching piece of advice to anyone who's earlier on, they've got this mindset where they want to build a business, but they've also got a family that they really want to do right by. What would be just some initial, what would you say to them? Some things you've learned.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be to say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Once you get that done, the family and the business comes into play.
That's a good one.
There's so many of us that have tried to focus on business or tried to focus on family. God calls us to focus on Him, and then everything else falls into line. The biggest times that I've made the biggest mess of my life is when I haven't been focusing on faith, on God Himself, and then letting everything else flow from that.
Yeah. Is that always something you knew from the beginning, or you kind of figured that out along the way?
It's been an on the way relationship. I was culturally a Christian growing up. And one of my fraternity brother roommates called me out and really kind of said, "You're not practicing your faith." Really kind of went into a deep faith journey there for a while and then backed away. And I think it's one of those things. Even when you look at Deuteronomy, everybody's relationship with God ebbs and flows. And the whole context of relationships, the whole context of the relationship between man and God is God calling people to faith, people believing, people falling away, God calling them back to faith. And I think that's a cycle in everybody's life, but ultimately God is sovereign, and those who He loves, He calls back.
I'm in total agreement there. Faith is a huge part of, and you can even left my Bible in the background there. So faith is a big part of what I do. Even there's a number of theology books. But what would you say? Because there'll be a lot of people watching this that faith isn't a big part of what they do, or like even any part. And so whether it's an encouragement to explore that, but how would you be encouraging a person like that to think if they're asking you for advice and that's not a huge part for them? Other than, of course, you maybe would be like, you really need to think about this faith stuff. It changes everything.
Well, ultimately what I would say is anybody that says they don't have faith is really saying, I don't have faith in the same God that you do. Because they have faith in something.
So there's faith in something.
So, there's faith in something. It's faith in works. It's faith in some kind of nebulous fate idea. But they have faith in something. So ultimately, I generally just push against it and kind of say,
it sounds like you're really saying in terms, know what you're working for and what your goal is, what you're serving, because that's going to flow into the business and that's going to flow into family. And for you and for myself, God, Jesus, the Bible, those things have really been a centering thing in terms of how to live life well, as they say.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, cool. And you said you had a big shift. I guess, was that, how old were you when that big shift kind of happened and you went from being more culturally to more intentional?
Yeah, I was probably a sophomore in high school or in college. So in my 20s, late 20s.
Oh, wow.
I guess early to mid 20s. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Um,
And so you got started getting into business stuff now. How did you get into the trades industry from there? Was
yeah,
was there kind of a journey in other directions? Did you have family members? What got that started?
yeah. So my father retired from the Air Force, and we moved to a small town in Georgia. Um, Over the years, I mean, he worked different jobs. He was retired. He didn't have to work, but he liked to stay busy. So he worked as a custodian at our high school, and then during the summers, he and I would do kitchens and baths and decks and remodeling for different folks around town.
Hmm.
It was just part of growing up. I mean, where we lived, I mean, everybody learned how to do everything,
Sure.
and
You just fixed
I
stuff. If it was
yeah, I
broken,
mean,
you just did it.
yeah, that was part of life.
Uh,
So then I went away for school for undergrad and ended up working on one of the maintenance crews at the college here. Went to King College here in Bristol,
so
Tennessee.
you worked while you were studying.
Yeah, so I worked on the facilities at the college and had a had a great boss and mentor, Consols. He's still a great friend of mine today. And I mean, my father's passed, and I
Mhm.
consider Con the next thing to that. We still have good conversations.
That's wonderful.
But I've grown up knowing how to do things and just being able to figure things out. Then I went to graduate school, and I figured out I had to pay for graduate school. So how do you do that? You do that by starting your own construction company and doing high end kitchens and baths. So I mean,
Hmm.
I
And what were
was
you studying? What were you studying at the time? So obviously you're not going to trade school. The trade's kind of like enabling this study path. And it's funny, it's interesting because that's kind of the main thing you're doing at the moment.
yeah. I mean, I went to school to get a what's called, well, in here in the States we call a master's in divinity, an MDiv.
Yeah, and MDiv, right.
It's the
Which is
degree
a
that
kind of
lets
a
you.
very pastoral, Bible orientated sort of
Yeah,
education, right?
yeah.
Ministry and stuff.
It's the degree that allows you to be a professional pastor or teaching elder.
Yeah, pushes you in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was sort of
So
the whole journey, but you learned trade. You were using your trade abilities and growing in that to actually afford to do
yeah,
the seminary Bible education stuff.
yeah. I mean, I basically paid cash for school. I mean, I left school
Oh,
with a little bit of debt, but I was able to basically pay cash for school.
all right.
Um, yeah, and I mean, it served me well. And then I got to the last year of my education of seminary, and I could not make it through Hebrew. I'm severely dyslexic, and just I couldn't do it. Tried it
Hmm.
3 times. My wife even took it with me,
I take it
and it
you could
just
do the Greek. You could do
yep,
Greek, could you?
yep.
Yeah.
I got
Hebrew is a
Greek
start.
handled.
It's a completely different. It's like one of them. For those who don't know, it's like Middle East and Arabic compared to those sorts of languages. So it's totally different to English. So
Yeah,
understandably, if you already struggle with letters and words and all that, I can see that being difficult.
yeah. So I mean, my professor quietly took me aside one day and said, "Look, we've tried this 3 times. This might not be the path for you."
Uh-huh.
So
And that's
I mean,
needed, and that's needed for the Masters of Divinity, isn't it?
yeah. It
In your
in
case,
in in the I'm in the Presbyterian Church, and we're very proud of our educations. Um, and that's one of those things that's required. So yeah.
yeah, okay. And so then I guess you transitioned, ended up giving you a you
Yeah,
went
I
in a
mean, I
different
got I
direction.
got the consolation prize degree. I mean, I get the master's in
I love that phrase,
philosophy and
Cons-
theology.
consolation degree.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I don't even know if it was a master's. I think I haven't even really
Might have been
looked at
like
it.
a diploma or
Yeah,
something else. Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, it might have been. I don't know. I mean, I just when they mailed it to me, it just kind of was like, oh, that's what that is, and
Okay,
immediately went to the side. But I mean, by
sure.
that point, by the time they actually sent me something, I had already been in. So after seminary, that was when Katrina hit New Orleans and just
Yes.
devastated the city of New Orleans. Um, so my wife and I, we raised support, and we spent about 3 years in New Orleans with 2 young kids, very young. Um, And
So you must have you got married and started a family while studying, it
Mhm.
sounds like. And you've got this construction business running on the side to pay for everything. So you're starting a business, a family, and pursuing a very high level Master of Divinity degree all at the same time.
Yeah,
What's the ages? You're early 20s, right? Or later
I was,
20s
by
or
that point,
mid?
I got married at 28. So that would have been like,
Okay.
yeah.
All
So
right. And so, so when Katrina hits though, what do you, does the construction, do you put that on pause and you move? How does that work?
yeah. So one of my dear friends from undergrad, um, he lived in St. Louis, lived with me, and we lived together for a while. But he and I basically got in the truck, and I went to the missions pastor of our church. We went to a very well established, very affluent church, and he handed me a credit card and said, "Go, and if you need more than 25 grand, call me." So we went down and we spent the first week just kind of getting the lay of the land, understanding what needed to happen, and then came home and put together a plan with our church, and we found a place to stay down there, and we ended up going down. We took about 15 guys from our church from two different churches down, and we spent a couple of weeks down there just trying to get this facility up and running so that then they could host more volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that started a relationship with that organization where I was able to then come and work under their umbrella for long term, because that was right as I was phasing out of seminary, and it gave us the opportunity to move down there with our denomination, and and
Yeah. And so
good. So
what was that experience like? Because in the other kind of interviews I've been doing, other guys coming on the podcast, um, there's a lot of focus on building a business, a lot of focus on being able to provide for the family. Those are all good things, like all four of them. But in your case, I'm kind of seeing practically how the faith side plays a role,
yeah,
because I think a lot of people hear that and they think it's just kind of a Christianese phrase. It's just what people say. Even Christians just like, oh yeah, that's the right answer you give. Whereas I'm hearing for you, like you're actually seeing, the needs arise in a place like Katrina. It's not really about building a big business and earning a big income and creating that nest egg, which you did actually eventually do. So it kind of became part of your journey, which we'll get to. But yeah, I don't know. Is that so? Am I
yeah.
just
I mean,
reading that right? There wasn't this like huge aspiration to build a massive business and provide for the family directly. It was like I just want to do the right thing by God, and all those other things sort of fell into place.
yeah. I mean, at that point, there really was no concept of build a business.
Okay,
It was
because you had
really,
started the construction company. So in your
yeah.
mind,
I
was that
mean,
just sort of a means you were working?
it was a means to an end to get to to
Yeah,
get the degree.
gotcha.
But then when the idea of the degree went away, it's what I have. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have these skills, I have this knowledge, and how do I apply it? I like working with people. So I mean, ultimately, when we went to New Orleans, I mean, ultimately, my job was like a volunteer coordinator and a teacher. We also worked with Clemson University had their architecture program there, and they kind of worked with the same organization. So I was able to work with young Clemson architect students and help teach them the practicality of their trade. So they would come to me with blueprints, and we would build their blueprints, and they would get actual like hands-on. How do we actually build what we draw? And what are the fallbacks? Like if like they built a house and we figured out halfway through the job that when they when they put the main beams together, they didn't use the right kind of nails. So we
Uh-huh.
had to go back and teach them like, and I that was before I got onto the job.
Sure.
But
And so what
we had
was
to go
that? So
back and teach them.
that was before, after Katrina, during it was
That's
that
during
was
that's right after Katrina. So I mean,
right.
there was a period where a lot. I mean, people from all over the country were pouring resources in, and that was one of the things that Clemson did was they raised money to build these houses that their architecture students built, and I helped oversee the actual construction of their projects.
Hmm.
But I mean, the architecture students did most of the work, and I had a great team that I still am in touch with one or two of them now. But I mean, ultimately, the work down there was helping rebuild Holly Grove, helping rebuild a neighborhood. Um, the people that had resources left, the people that didn't have resources stayed because they didn't have any other options.
Yeah, didn't have any,
Um,
right.
yeah.
That was
So
their land. That's what they had, and they just
yeah, I mean,
needed to figure something
they've
out
been
with
there
it.
for generations. How do you move?
Hmm.
If you own the home, but you didn't have insurance on it, I mean, what do you do? So
Yeah,
we did everything we could to help and to rebuild. And after several years, then the funding dries up and the need starts to wane. So it's
sure, because things are
time to move
becoming more
out.
established. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
that
after,
was 3 years, you said. There was a
yeah, it was
3 year
about three
kind of
years.
period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And over this time, so you're actually, would you say you have any specific interests and skills when it comes to trades, or you've always had this sort of builder mindset, kind of looking at everything that needs to be done and then getting people who know those parts to
Yeah.
help you out with them?
I mean, I grew up with my dad being an electrician by trade.
Okay.
Um, so he was an aircraft mechanic and he did secure communications in the Air Force. And he always encouraged us to work with our hands. I mean, like one day I said, Dad, I want a bed that I can wake up and touch the ceiling. So what did we do? I mean, we got together materials and we built a bed that I could sleep in the top bunk. And so, I mean, it's just, that's always been what I've grown up in. If you need something, you figure it out, you build it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and that's so like, even then, like after we left Katrina, I was still did because I continued my own construction business even when we had the volunteer work because my wife
Sure.
and I were on support when we were there,
Right.
and the
So
support was rather lean.
mhm.
So at nights and weekends I
Yeah,
built
it's
my own
not the
client
most high
base. And
paying, being a volunteer job worker missionary
no,
is not the most high paying position.
no, I mean we would go to church, and I mean it often my wife would get we lovingly call them $100 handshakes
Hmm.
where somebody in the congregation would say, I just felt like you needed this. So,
Yeah. They shake your
and
hand and you feel that piece of paper in there and you what's going on?
yeah, but I mean, that's part of God's provision. And
Yeah.
I've learned to be humble and accept that. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah. I know what you
there's a
mean.
certain part of me that has pride that says I couldn't support
You
my
don't
own
want to need
family,
to
but
take that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but on the other side of it is God is sovereign, and that's the way He provides for His people. I
Hmm.
mean,
And it,
it's a real thing.
right. And that does come back to kind of where you started with loving the greatest commands, love the Lord your God with all your heart and then love your neighbor as yourself. If that's the directing thing, then you know accepting the handouts and the $100 handshakes, the help is actually a means to that, because there are other
Oh,
concepts,
100%.
more blessed to give than receiving. You are doing a lot of giving, you're going down there to Katrina.
Yeah.
And so, whereas if your goal is, I need to I like the thing you're serving, you mentioned works. Let's maybe have made it a bit more specific. It's, I want to be the provider for my family. Then, receiving that help isn't actually necessary. It
Yeah.
actually goes against your goal, but that wasn't your primary thing. You had a more overarching purpose there, which helps direct those steps, which
Yeah.
I really love hearing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, God is good. God provides in so many different ways. And this is the other thing. I mean, like God provides for our needs. He
Hmm.
doesn't ever tell us he'll provide for our wants. He says he'll provide for our needs.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
get
and
them
it's
mixed up half the time,
oh yeah, I need a new iPhone.
more than
No,
half the time.
no, I need a new truck. No, my truck has 320,000 miles on it and it still runs well.
That's the
So
power of God.
but it's, I mean, but even now, so I mean, so like we continued doing construction through Katrina, and then we went to St. Louis. I'm sorry, we went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we lived in a house that my parents had while it was on the market. We lived there for a couple of months after we left New Orleans. And then Con, the gentleman that I spoke of earlier, he invited me up here to back to Bristol to run the facilities at another college where he was working. So I got to spend several more good years with Con and just building that relationship and learning more. And then that college ultimately went under financially. I went to work for a commercial roofing company. It's the first kind of W-2 job that I've ever
Sure.
had. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot about the professional side because I'd always been self-employed. That was the first
Mhm.
time that working at the college was the first time I ever had a W-2 job where I had to report to somebody else and make sure
Really?
the paperwork was done. Then we went to the roofing company, and that was a larger, more complex roofing
Yeah, so you're kind of
situation.
ascending in terms of business complexity. I mean, because beforehand, you're not dealing with kind of the technical details of hiring and pay and all that stuff, but you are still learning a lot in terms of team leadership, organizing people, right?
Yeah.
Because you said you were kind of managing those volunteer teams and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
But I
Or
mean,
did
I,
that prepare you at all, or was it sort of just
I
completely
mean,
different?
ultimately, I mean, I grew up in the Boy Scouts. So, I
Uh-huh.
mean, the Boy Scouts teaches you leadership. It teaches you how to work with a team. It teaches you how to develop a team. I mean, all those things are there. Ultimately, it's the things that I never saw being self-employed was the politics of working inside of an organization and the standard operating procedures and the things that you kind of take for granted being your own boss and you just do it.
Sure, because it's in
Um,
your head and you know it
yeah,
works, and you kind of know enough to be able to break the SOP, the
SOP.
standing one.
What's that? Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
But so
I mean,
you get into go on, sorry.
yes. I mean, I just got into more of a commercial space, and
Yeah,
then that company shifted directions. We were doing a lot of high-end commercial insurance claims. So that company kind of
this is roofing.
changed
This
their
is roofing
roofing,
now.
commercial
Okay,
roofing. Yeah. And they changed their direction and they went more to claims management. So they didn't need as large of a field staff.
okay. Do you mind
So
explaining those two differences for us? And why that shift happened?
yeah. So on the commercial roofing side, like with the company, they subcontracted their roof installations, but they needed a repair crew and an oversight crew to basically do field management. So I was training their field technicians on how to do repairs and how to inspect roofs and those kind of things.
Sure.
So that was
And
kind of my
had you ever
role.
had any specific training in roofs, or that was just from your building experience? You had done a lot of roofing, and so therefore had the
Yeah. I mean,
know-how of
it's
what
just,
needed to be
I
done
just
there.
kind of picked it up and they sent me to a couple of commercial schools. So every manufacturer has their own training program. And once you go to those training
Sure.
programs, you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
certified.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, that was that. So that when that company changed focus and they went mainly to claims management where they weren't actually putting the roof on, they were filing the claim, making sure the claims gets done, basically becoming professional adjusters instead of installers. Um, my regional manager and I pulled out and we started our own roofing company together, focusing primarily on roof coatings. So in the commercial world, instead of putting a new membrane on here in the States, you can put a coating on the roof. We preferred silicone. It allows you to extend the life of the roof. It allows you to write it off in our tax structure. It allows you to write it off more quickly as a maintenance item instead of a capitalized item. There are a lot of benefits to it. So that's what we did. Um,
And so, what led you? So you this is the first time you're sort of starting your own company in a real formalized way with a partner. Would you say when you pulled out of that other roofing
yeah.
company? And so,
Yeah. So this is,
what made you want to? do that? What made you think, all right, was that a hard decision, an easy one? Because there's a
It-
certain level of security when you're working for this other company
yeah.
and they're doing a lot of the
So
work.
I mean, so I think working for a company is one of the biggest lies that anybody ever looks at and calls it security. I think if you work for yourself, you always have the opportunity to go out and find more work. Where if you're
Mm-hmm.
working for somebody else, ultimately you're trusting somebody else to find that work for you.
Sure.
Um,
The same work needs to get done. The security is in you just trust that there's someone else
yeah,
is going to do it for you. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it's just
And you had been
it's
used to that. You had done the construction work yourself, worked for your
yeah.
own. So finding work was, how did you, what were some ways that you were finding work? Were you just networking? What?
We have so there's this gets into some different things. So it's like I had always kept myself busy through word of mouth.
Mhm.
But the thing that I've learned over the last several years is if you own a business that you want to grow and you don't want to be the business, then ultimately you're going to end up owning a marketing company that performs a service. Um,
Yeah,
so that's
you need to know how to market. Yeah, that's right. And
yeah,
it's even similar for the sales side of things. When you really get into that, it's like you're actually a marketing and sales company because you know how to communicate yourself, you know how to get people coming in, you know how to turn those people into customers. And what you sell just happens to be roof coatings. Yeah.
and then on the back end of it, you have to know what your real costs are. I mean,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't. So I mean, I grew up poor. I mean, I knew that it was payday because there was hot dogs or tuna in the macaroni casserole. I mean, it was just that's how it was. So even the first I would say 10, 12 years, I never knew how to charge people for my services because I never really calculated the real cost. I
Sure.
really,
And
I really
especially
charged.
it's just you as well. Like there's
Yeah,
not all the kind of overhead and additional things that you're needing to think through.
yeah,
Okay. And so how did that go with you? Because obviously, you know, being wanting to be honest, build that reputation, word of mouth. How did that go for you in terms of figuring out what to charge and charging what you're worth and charging to account for all those other expenses?
yeah. So I mean, it's come with a lot of heartache and a lot of like. I mean, when you have to go back and rework something and you're paying for it out of your own pocket because you don't understand that you really need to bill for callbacks. You
Mm.
need to have that flexibility and you need to have profit built in. And profit doesn't mean paying yourself. It means paying yourself and then having money left over.
Right, right.
And
Because
and,
your
and you
time,
have
yeah,
yeah,
you're an employee. Yeah, that's it.
exactly. I mean, so all those things. I mean, most solopreneurs or young entrepreneurs don't think about those kind of things. They're so used to just billing and just trying. And pricing was black magic to me. I
Hmm.
priced what I needed to live on that day is what I priced. And that's a terrible way to run a business.
Yeah.
So I mean I had a really good business partner that knew how to run the finances. And I really wish that partnership ultimately dissolved. Um but I really wish that I wish I had been a better partner in that business by being more attentive to the books, more
Mm.
attentive to understanding the needs and desires of the office instead of just kind of ducking my head and going into my own little world, which is field work. Because
Sure. So
I mean,
you had your roles in the business,
yep,
and there's your business partners, but then there's the appreciation and actually knowing what the other person's doing, and
yeah.
so you can be a meaningful part of it without needing to actually take responsibility for it.
Well, yeah. And I was a terrible business partner because I was, I didn't mind doing the field work, but then I had no participation or even, to be honest, I didn't even look at the books. I trusted him intimately to take care of them.
Mhm.
But even when he would try to sit me down and say, "Okay, Thomas, we need to do this, this, and this, and we need to make like how," and he did all the back end.
Yeah,
And I wish I had taken the time and been a better business partner and helped him through those things.
sure. Because
And
then that would
just
have also helped you just in terms of building new things. Because you said it
yeah,
dissolved, and so you're moving on to onto other
yeah,
things.
yeah. And I would have learned so much more, and I would have been a better partner.
So if he's the one in this business, he's the one with that back end management knowledge. It sounds like
Mhm.
you're doing the field work, but you have also just mentioned the importance of in the building a business side actually doing the marketing where you're not just
Yeah,
where it's not about you and people know you and that's where they come. You're actually building a brand. And so did you guys, how did you pursue that? How did that work out for that
yeah.
business?
So I mean, it it went well. I mean, we got to the point where we're working in 14 states. I mean, in the commercial world, we you generally are you're doing your sales target is generally a property manager because they have multiple properties that they oversee, and they're the ones that are helping ownership decide what needs to be done and gathering the information for the owners.
Okay.
So I mean, we built a good reputation, and we worked with property managers, and we worked with sole owners as well. But we built a good reputation of what we call giving good advice. I mean, and ultimately
Mhm.
that's
So
the
was that
way I
still
saw it.
primarily a word of mouth thing, but just more shifting to word of mouth for the business as a whole rather than word of mouth for Thomas Covington?
So I mean, it was active sales. So it was going and meeting with
All right. So
property
you're
managers.
networking, you're
Yeah,
going, and what did that look like? Are you just cold sending them an email? Are there events that you're attending? Yeah, for someone else
all
that's
of the
saying
above.
all of the above,
Yeah,
because
I
I'm
mean it.
imagining someone listening to you being like, "That's a really good, sounds like an opportunity that I'm not taking advantage of." How would you, how would you encourage someone to move in that direction
Yeah,
and
I mean,
take those
yes. I mean, I
opportunities?
think ultimately sales is relationship. So how do
Hmm.
you build relationships with the people that are going to make the decisions? You have to be where they are. You have to speak their language, and you have to provide value.
Hmm.
So you're going to BOMA meetings, Building Owners and Managers Association. You're going to your local Rotary where all of your business owners and property owners go and hang out and enjoy lunch once a week. You're knocking on doors of major commercial real estate and property management companies. Um, and you're sitting down with the actual PMs and taking them to lunch and asking them what they need and how you can help. I mean, you know what services you can provide, and you ask
So
them
it's a matter of finding the
how.
people that need those services, and in general who needs them.
Yeah,
It's then
every
just
commercial building needs a roof.
right. Yeah, yeah. And so that which applies to literally all skilled trades, in
Yeah,
terms of plumbing, electrical, HVAC,
yeah,
and so what you're doing in that relationship building, and add to this as well, because I'm just pulling apart what you're saying. So because you ultimately you do know what they need as well. So you already kind of know that, but in this connecting, you're actually you're actually showing them that I'm someone that can meet that need. And it's through that
yeah,
sales relationship building that then they are taking an interest in calling you.
yeah. And that's the other part is it's not always the technical side. I mean,
No.
you can be a very cold and calculated and very technical individual, and you know everything about the technical system. But again, if it goes back to, I mean, we practice what we call asset stewardship.
Mhm.
So when I talk to a building owner, and this is today in our own company what we do right now. I mean, when we go to a building owner and we talk to them, whether it be residential or commercial, we generally have three, or there are in general three types of of property owners. There's users, maintainers, and improvers. If you're a user of the property and you're letting it depreciate and you're not investing back into it, you're probably not our client. If you're a maintainer or an improver, then once you get into one of those categories, then we can help shape the conversation. If you're a
Hmm.
maintainer, which a lot of the commercial property owners are maintainers because they're focusing on cash flow. How can we maintain the status quo? How can we keep a
Yeah.
quality
They want to
product that
keep,
we're not?
yeah, they're keeping the value
Yeah.
and right, right. All right. And so that's a real interesting shift from what was that phrase you used? So you're
Well,
not just servicing property owners, you're asset managers, did you
oh,
say?
so
Asset
I mean,
owners,
so what we call it is asset stewardship. I mean,
asset
it goes back
stewardship. Yeah, yeah. Being
it goes back to
responsible for those assets that you have. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it goes back for us. It goes back to a faith idea. I
yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
everything that we have, God has given us to care for it until we pass it on to somebody else. So we don't own anything in this world. We are merely stewards of it until we pass it to somebody else. So with knowing that and understanding that, how can we do the best we can to pass along as much as we can faithfully and in a good condition to the next generation? And I think ultimately that's what God calls us to do. I mean, if you look at there's several different parables where God is
Yeah, he uses money
he
as he's talking about
yeah,
you've been entrusted with these talents, entrusted with these coins,
yeah,
and you trade and you do stuff with them, and God cares about that return.
yeah, he does. And it's the thing, it's I mean, so you have a lot of people in the faith world that very quickly will say money is evil. But
Yeah,
and then on the other side, God talks about money and he talks about accumulation and he talks
all the
about wealth
time.
and yeah. And so I mean ultimately our goal is to provide for our families and to provide for the concentric circles is what we look at. So
Yeah, the spheres of
once I
influence, how
yeah,
yeah, how far it goes out.
once I can provide for my nuclear family, then I can hire employees. And this is just in a business context. Then I can hire employees and I can take care of my
Provide for
employees
them.
well. And
Hmm.
then I can provide for their families well. And then I can bring more employees in and that nucleus grows. And then once that business is growing and that business is sloughing off that beautiful word that we call profit, then we take that profit and we put it into another asset holding entity that
Sure.
we then
Because that profit, that cash is another form of asset that you're wanting to steward well. And so then
absolutely
you're reinvesting that, putting that into different areas,
yeah
which we'll definitely get to because I really like the way you've structured things at the moment. Kind of everything feeds into one another. Um, I
yeah
can also see that term asset stewardship, even from a sales relationship building perspective, is really going to probably highlight you when you're interacting with these property owners and those decision makers, because whether they've worded it like that or not, they are realizing, oh yeah, I've got this asset and I want to make the most of it.
yeah
I've got
so
this thing that's worth something and I don't want it to become worthless. That's literally the what that
yeah
phrase means.
well and when you look at the linguistics of it we're really working with two different types of people. We're working with building owners and building managers. So if you're a
Hmm.
building
Yeah, yeah.
manager, you're stewarding it for the person that's the owner. They've entrusted you with the management of that building.
Hmm.
You are the steward of that property. And then if you're a building owner, it's a different type of stewardship because you own it in stewardship for whoever you're going to pass along to,
Yeah, yeah.
whether it be the next buyer or it be your grandkids. I mean, so
Hmm.
that's it. That phrase rings differently with different people,
Different people, but it
but it
applies. So it's
maintains
actually,
the same. Yeah, it
yeah,
maintains the
you've
same
really
principle.
nailed down who you're, because this is a big marketing thing. It's actually
Mhm.
knowing who you're, you know, who you're serving. What's the
Yeah,
person before you have a problem? You actually want to, because marketing businesses, you're solving a particular problem. But
yeah,
these days, you need to have a very clear idea on who that problem is relevant to.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, so when we talk about asset stewardship, it helps us nail down who our ideal client
mhm,
is. So,
yeah,
and it goes back to that three-tiered model of a building owner. If you're a user of a property, you're not concerned with the stewardship of that property because all you're concerned about is the cash flow. So your priorities are not in the same way in same realms that we are. So
mhm,
if I
mhm,
ever work with that property, I'm cleaning up your mess. I'm not helping you
sure.
maintain it. I'm cleaning up a mess.
Mhm, mm. Have you ever had to, in that sales experience, had people that maybe fell into that first category, but through kind of the conversation, the education, maybe opening them up to things that they hadn't really thought about before, that they kind of desire to be in that other category, and then you help them through that? Or do you leave them to themselves for a little bit until they work it out, and then you come alongside them when they become your ideal client?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that comes to mind right now that I'm thinking of that and he's actually in the middle of this conversation because I love the gentleman himself. He's a multimillionaire. He's got houses all over the country, but he doesn't want to pay a fair wage. He always wants to negotiate
Mm.
and he always wants to pay the bare minimum. So I had a very frank conversation with him. I said, look, I'll, because we sent him an invoice. He knew what the range of the invoice should have been on the front end. We sent him the invoice. And he called me personally and said, Thomas, I'm not paying this invoice. I said, it's fine. I said, you send me a check for whatever you think it's worth. And so I actually went out and picked up the check from him. And my text was out there all day. Well, he's probably out there for 6 hours. And he gave me a check for $175. So, and this is a gentleman that we had done other work for, and he had paid us well. So I had the opportunity to have a conversation with him and just kind of go through things. And I said, you aren't respecting us as professionals because I can't honestly send a truck out here and provide quality work for what you're willing to pay me back. And I said, so I want you to consider what that value is to you because
Yeah.
if we're
Having the
not here,
confidence that your asset is being stewarded correctly,
yeah,
is that worth it to you? Because otherwise we'll get a minimal job and someone else can do that. Anyone can do
yeah. I mean, you can pick up a guy at Home Depot and have him take care of it for that.
that.
I mean, will it be right? I don't know. So, but
How did
it's,
that conversation go? Like, was there an understanding? Did it resolve? Are you guys just friends now, but no working relationship?
I mean, we're friends now, and he's called me for a couple of jobs, and I've sent him proposals. I mean, the man is where he is because he knows what he knows, and
Yeah,
he's done very well for himself.
sure.
Um, but I mean, matter of fact, I've got an appointment to go see him tomorrow. But it's again, I won't
So
send
it's
my
just one
techs
of
out
those
there anymore.
ongoing, sure. So it's just one of those working relationship things where
Yeah,
you're always, because now you're much more in a mindset of your guys and needing, in terms of your family, the employees. It's not just you anymore going day by day. It
yeah,
is, you've got all these other things that you're trying to steward well.
yeah.
Um,
So like tomorrow, I'll go out and I'll handle whatever issue that he has. But again, it's time for me to sit at his feet because I told him last time. I understand if you don't want to pay for my technicians for what they're worth. I said, but if you want me to come out and you want me to service you, then what I expect in return from that is some good quality time where you're answering questions that
yeah,
I can't get from
there's,
somebody else. So I'm
that's
getting a
it.
different value out of it because I mean, he did high level mergers and acquisitions for Fortune 500 companies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
I
So
I spend
there's a more intangible benefit being exchanged there.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really great. And again, and that's why I really like this phrase asset stewardship, because, depending how broadly you define asset, your mind, your knowledge, all of that
It's my
falls
time
under that.
too.
Yeah, your
It's my
time.
time. Because if I send a tech out there, my tech isn't going to utilize the time the same way I would. and he's
Sure.
not going to
With
utilize
spending with that person. Yeah, yeah.
the relationship time. So
Mhm.
the tech is going to go out there and they're going to do the job, and it's purely a monetary transaction.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
they'll do
we're
it
trading
well,
as
they'll do it to a high standard, all that.
100%,
But it's a
100%.
different assets are being exchanged.
Yeah. So when I'm there with him and I go and sit down in his office and I spend an extra hour with him, I mean, for what he could charge me at his billable rate,
Sure.
yeah,
It's worth it.
it's worth it.
That makes a
So,
lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, so every time I go and see this client, he gives me a reading list. So, and every time
Books,
I
boom.
finish, yeah. And
Yeah, okay.
because we have a discussion. We generally have a 45 minutes or an hour discussion about what's going on in the business and what I need to learn. And then he gives me a 2 or 3 book reading list.
How old is
And
this
then
guy, gentlemen? Is he
he's probably in his mid to late 70s.
okay? All right.
So, and he's got a house in Florida. He's got a house out west, and he's got a house here. And I mean, the gentleman probably owns $10 million in real estate. I
Sure.
mean, yeah.
So he knows
Um,
he's built that
yeah.
solid wealth that's
So,
going to be able to transfer.
and he did M&As for big companies, and then he retired from that, and he did M&As out of his own personal business.
Mhm.
So he knows what he's doing. So every time I go and I spend an hour with him and I talk about what I'm going through. So he gives me 2 or 3 books, and then I'll text him when I'm done. I finished this
Finished.
book. This is what I got out of it. He's like, well, look back at this chapter and think more about
I think
this.
you missed
And
this part. Yeah, that's
yeah.
nice.
So, and for me, that's invaluable. So I
Yeah.
would rather maintain
Mhm.
that relationship and be able to learn and grow than just to fire somebody as a
Sure. Or
client.
just yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
it would have been very easy to say, we'll never go to that property again. I mean,
Sure.
our CRM, it's funny when you look at the different CRMs, there are actual switches inside the CRM. It's like blacklist client.
Like, yeah, don't let them reach out to me anymore. Yeah, it's like there's a
Yeah,
do not send. Like, don't let us reach out to them. Like, don't send any more text messages. But then there's like, don't even let them
yeah.
message
Do not
in,
service.
call it. Do not
Yeah,
service or what's the other one? The Peter clients. I don't know if you've seen
I
that
don't know
tag
that one.
before. Peter,
No.
PIT. Most of pain in the ass is what they
Oh,
often
yeah,
will tag certain clients as.
yeah.
So, but
No. But it's again, it goes back to that concept of stewardship. How can we serve this gentleman, but also respect him and
sure.
his wishes, but also leverage it to make sure it works for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, to me, it just sounds like a deeper consideration of what's valuable. And
Yeah.
so you're not just looking at time and numbers, you're looking at relationships, networking, uh, access to knowledge and people that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. And
Well, and
that
that's
takes extra time. That not many, I
yeah.
don't think, are thinking at that level for.
Well, and it's like I give my techs the ability to discount. And if we go into a situation and somebody truly can't afford something, then the reason why we bill what we do is so that we can have the flexibility to give some things away.
Mhm.
Um, and you can't do that if you're not
If you're
honestly
just
charging your real
spread,
value. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the difference between just charging, and you can't do that in business. The thing is, you're providing when you're building a business. It's not just that service in that moment that people are paying for. It's the whole experience of it being done to a high standard and all the effort that goes into maintaining that employee so that they're in a good mindset to actually do
Yeah.
it well. That involves keeping their family, secure
Well,
and
and
supporting
training,
living,
training.
training.
How
Yeah,
how many small companies pay their employees to come in and get trained?
right. Hmm.
I mean, I there are too many that don't.
And all that contributes to the service, which does
100%.
needs to be passed on. That's what you're paying for. You're not just
Yeah.
paying to get your roof, have an extra coating on your roof. You're
Yeah.
paying for that intangible benefit that
Well, it's,
makes that
yeah.
great.
Like, I mean, I've got a young man he's an amazing plumber. And, um, we, we charge dearly for him to go out to your property and to maintain your plumbing system so that things are done well and so that you can maintain a sanitary home.
Mm.
I mean,
Yes.
that is what we do. And if you want us to be here tomorrow to provide the same level of service that you expect today, then you don't have to just pay for today. You have to pay for a little bit of tomorrow
Yeah.
because we have to maintain the vehicles, the insurance, the phone systems.
Mm.
I mean, even if you don't call us tomorrow, that stuff still has to run. So
Sure.
we have to be able to maintain a profit so that we can have a nest egg and we can advertise for more clients, and I mean
Hmm.
ultimately build a clientele where we have that consistent 2 to 3 day lead time, but then have the ability to service our emergency clients.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
and to do that and to have that flexibility and to provide well, you have to have well trained, well rested employees.
Employees.
You cannot
Uh,
run them 24 hours a day.
no. So then, all right. So roofing company.
Yeah.
And so today, you're talking about today, that's with your current business. It sounds like the relationship, which is good. Because I really am interested in, because there's kind of, from what I understand, the conversation we had before, kind of really three main, at least I understood, three main pillars of the business that you're pursuing at the moment. And I'll tell you what I think they are. You didn't really formulate it like that. I just really enjoyed it. Made sense. But before we get to that, how did you? What happened? How did that partnership end? You don't need to get into all the details, but in terms of the business building, getting out of that cleanly, so you said last time you mentioned you're in 14 states, which is
Yeah.
substantial. So what what happened there with exiting, and what were some of the main reasons
Yeah.
behind that at the timing?
Yeah. So there were jobs that we did where I would literally be out of town for months. I mean, I would come home on a Friday and get home at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night, and I would leave again on Monday. My wife and kids are worth more than me to that. I mean, and after a while, it takes a toll on you. Um, my partner and I, we had the conversation, and I came out of the field and doing those long jobs. I did more on-site management where I would drive to projects and project manage. Um, but then ultimately I came out of the field, and if you're a minority partner, you're ultimately an employee. People need to understand
Mhm.
that.
If you're not, yeah, if you don't have enough to make the calls, you got to do what someone else wants.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I was kind of thrust into a sales role that I didn't really enjoy. Um, I've learned to enjoy it. I've learned to have different conversations, and I've learned how to build these networks better. But at that point, I really didn't enjoy it.
Hmm.
So I wasn't good at it, and and quite frankly, I let my partner down because he was doing more sales than I was, and he was doing the back end. We brought in a third partner. I diluted my shares at that point, and ultimately, it was just I kind of had to make the decision to go.
Hmm.
Um,
How'd that
and
conversation go? Like, was it, in terms of relationally, was it a simple, clean exit?
um, it was simple and it was clean, and I mean there were obviously some emotions tied to it,
Sure, of course there was going
um,
to be.
but it's but I mean I was not doing what I needed to do to be a good partner, and in some ways, I mean honestly, you could say I was fired, but I
Hmm.
mean I was given the opportunity for a buyout, and I retained shares in the company. and ultimately was able to sell those shares. Um, I don't think I was treated poorly at all.
Sure.
It was, but it was ultimately amicable. I mean,
Yeah. No, good.
we're still acquaintances today. Um, I mean, it's not like we're drinking buddies or anything like that, but I mean,
Yeah.
we see each other out. We're still sociable. We still run in the same networks.
And how did that
But
go with and so the transition? So it kind of sounds like not only, you know, being the partner, you're both learning through the process, and also it's been a
yeah,
big experience. But not only on that side, but it also sounds like you're not kind of around for your family as much as you'd like to be.
yeah,
Seeing kids. How many and how old are your kids at that time when you're being away for months at a
yeah.
time?
So at that time, my kids were teenagers.
Yeah,
So
okay.
they were 12, 13 years
Teenage
old.
years.
Yeah.
I don't
So I
know,
mean,
but I hear from people that's I don't know personally, but I hear
you know,
stories.
I
I know of
I
I was one too, so uh,
I cannot say enough about my kids. My kids are amazing. I don't. I mean, their mother did a great job. So
uh,
my wife, I tell my wife all the time that she did a great job raising the kids. So,
well, and so how old was
but
the oldest one at the point where you
uh,
decided to? I
yeah,
can't
I mean
remember
they're
exactly.
they're Irish twins. I mean they're 16 months apart. So they were um they were. I mean again they were 12, 13 years old. I guess.
12. Sure, okay. I was just wondering if they were later
So
teens. So as they're getting into these teenage years, you exit, and we probably don't have
yeah,
time for today, but I'd love to have you on again. We could talk in more detail about going from zero to the 14 states. That sounds like really uh, interested to hear more details in that story. I'm sure there's lots of experiences.
yeah.
Um,
I mean it's fun.
but yeah, in terms of so you come out of that, and then what? So you've got
Yeah.
this
So
lump sum, and
yeah. I mean
what next?
it's not life changing money, but it's I guess to some people it is. But it's I mean, but it's enough money that I'm able to step back, take a deep breath, spend a lot of time with my kids, and
Hmm.
kind of figure out what's next. So
Sure.
um,
And I
again, going
remember
back,
you saying in the pre-interview, this is when you began thinking, how do I not let this dwindle and go to waste?
yeah,
Because most people, when they have that sort, if they have a nest egg or something, it's gone after the next generation. I think three
yeah,
generations, most wealth is just completely, back to ground
yeah.
level.
I mean, yeah, that's the accepted model. But it's so I mean, what I did is I mean, I I looked at where my deficiencies were. I mean, I took parting from that company to heart. I mean, and I had to learn how what I did that that I needed to learn to do it right, to to be a good leader, to be an employer that somebody would want to work for. Um, so I started reading a lot,
Mhm.
and then obviously I I've always been interested in real estate, so I started attending different real estate groups and learning more about real estate investing, learning more about the bookkeeping, the financial side of real estate, um, and just really built some great relationships along the way doing that.
Okay, but you're not
Um,
actively in a trade business at this point. You've
I was out of the trade business for probably a year.
Okay, so that's not long.
Yeah, so I was out of
But
the
you got
trade business for a year. I had a
Mhm.
2 year non compete on roofing, so I couldn't jump right back into roofing. So
Right, and at
I
14 states, it's like, yeah. Was that
yeah,
location based, or was it
that
just
was time based. It
time
was
based? So literally
yeah.
just overall 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, and I wasn't gonna pick I mean, I could have picked up my family and moved somewhere else, but I
Yeah, it wasn't
I didn't
worth
wanna
it.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you took that time
So,
to really just learn some new skills,
yep.
build yourself
And
up.
yeah, so I mean, and then we started looking at, I mean, I have a general contractor's license at that point. So, you know, that allows us to do pretty much anything on the construction side. Um, so then, so I started going back to the same contacts, our property managements, and I would look at doing exterior envelopes. So they're caulking and they're painting and parking lot maintenance. And I had one client that they had a they had one of their tenants that hadn't had water for 4 months in their property because they had to replace it. Everybody was telling them they had to replace the entire water line. So I did a little bit of research and I figured out how to find where the leak was, and I gave them a fixed price contract and said, I'll make sure it gets fixed, and this is how much it's going to cost. And it was basically a third of what the other companies were going to charge them to
Expected.
replace the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I was able to go and rent the equipment that I needed, and I found the leak, fixed it, and had it done in 2 days. And it cost them ten, fifteen
So,
thousand dollars.
so were you doing then? How long were you doing work like that for? In terms of, it sounds like kind of almost back to where you'd started, not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
just kind of, doing a bit of work, keeping yourself busy because there wasn't a super amount of urgency to
I
get
mean,
back into things.
I honestly did that for 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, because
and
you're
I,
still spending a lot of time with your family at this point, so you're
yeah,
really
yeah,
investing on that front.
yeah. And it's, I mean, I really didn't start pursuing what I am today until about a year ago, year and a half ago.
Sure. So this
Um,
is a real new direction
yeah,
where things are
100%.
going now.
Yep.
Okay.
And, so now, I mean, both of my kids are in college now. My daughter just finished her freshman year. My son just finished his sophomore year. And it's time for us to grow a business that we can literally retire on.
Hmm.
And in that process, I mean, after my exit and selling, I had a lot of time to read books that talked about building a business, and not just the e-myth books that tell us,
Yeah, the
like,
mindset, not just the mindset
yeah,
books. All right.
not just the mindset, but like the technical side of, okay,
Hmm.
you need to set up SOPs. You need to have a standard operating procedure that tells you how to write a standard operating procedure. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I
SOPs
mean,
for using and writing and creating the SOPs.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, and for somebody that has been a solopreneur for so long, that's just insanity.
Hmm. Hmm.
But,
It's
but
very hard
as,
I mean, you can see the value of it, like conceptually, but it can be very hard to motivate yourself to like doing that sort of thing,
yeah,
investing in that.
but again, so what I've really done is I've really gone from the mentality and the idea of being a solopreneur, and then the idea of being an entrepreneur where you're running and doing everything, to the fact that, I want to be a business owner.
Mm, yeah.
And if you're an entrepreneur, you're
Not
not
the
a business
operator,
owner.
not the
Yeah, you're not
operator.
the
Yeah.
operator. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I mean, like the new company that we're in the process of branding and building right now, um, the way that the financials are done, I mean, every job has a price. We do flat rate pricing, so every job has a price. And when we sell that contract, as long as the technician is on time and within their time scale, I can tell you how much of that money is going to go to pay the tech, how much of that money is going to go to pay for marketing, how much money that is going to go to pay for automobiles and insurance, how much is going to go for overhead, how much is going to go for management salary, how much is going to go for ownership return, and then what's going to go to extra profit,
Hmm.
because you have to have those things
You've
built
accounted
into
for
your
all.
system.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so every dollar you sell, you need to know where that money's getting allocated.
Hmm.
So that way you can build your goals and you know how much revenue you need to do a week, month, and a year to meet your minimum baseline of operating expense, and then to meet your goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
and
obviously,
if you're
go on.
actively meeting your goals, then you have the ability to thrive and to be charitable.
Hmm. Yeah. And the name at the moment is still rebranding all, but One Call Service Group
Yeah.
is the business you're pointing together. And so just kind of explain for those listening kind of what you're doing differently this time around. Obviously, it sounds like the numbers and that side you said you initially neglected a lot of
Yeah.
is what you're almost ensuring is there from the ground up. But yeah, what is a big picture of the business? I'll tell you what I took away from it, what I really liked. But
I'll
yeah,
be curious. I'll be curious. I'm actually going
I
to take
think
notes.
I'll tell you. So maybe bounce on this. So what I really like the framework of it was you've got a home service branch, a commercial branch, and then you're applying your real estate knowledge to another branch. And I just really liked that framework and the way it worked together because your experience with working with commercial guys, they've got they're looking for different things, and again, it's that asset stewardship. The way they're thinking about their assets is different. So you've
Hmm.
got this sort of branding over here. Then there's the home service side over here, and that's the same team. I imagine there's maybe some little folk. You will
There's
eventually have
overlap.
people
Yeah.
with yeah, but there's a significant overlap there. And then you've got the real estate side, and I don't know how far along that is, but one example just for people, you shared that you're flipping properties, and so the same team is, if work's a bit low on other things, you've actually got properties that they can go and work on that flipping side. So I just really liked that. Um, those three prongs, kind of applying everything you've learned over the years, and obviously early days, but I'm really excited to see where it all goes. Tell us how that's structured. Is it just a branding front? Have you put in a lot of effort on the back end, like to structure things? How does all
Yeah.
that at a high level work? I know you can get really into the weeds with all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so,
And if I missed
so
anything, tell me. That's what I took away.
no, ultimately those are kind of the three revenue producing sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also have the charity on the other, that all of that flows into a charity.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So yes, I remember talking a bit about that, but let's make sure we
yeah.
cover some of that and what that's doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the difference between the residential side and the commercial side, a lot of it's branding. Um, I mean, residential plumbing and commercial plumbing, very similar. I mean, when you get into industrial and process plumbing, that's a whole different avenue. But residential and commercial plumbing, it's it's fairly much the same. So I e- my plumbing technician can service either of those, and there's a lot of overlap. Um, on the HVAC side, there's a significant difference between commercial HVAC and residential HVAC. The reason why we're calling ourselves One Call is because we want to provide a client with one point of contact where they can reach out to one person, one company, and know that all of their needs are going to be handled in a
Hmm.
way that they can expect and be respectful in the process.
Hmm.
Um,
What are some of the
so
differences just for people with the commercial in the marketing side, communication side? What have you identified to be some big differences of how, say, commercial side thinks versus the residential
yeah,
side?
yeah, that's a great question. So on the commercial side, a commercial buyer is generally a financial buyer. So the decision to patch a roof, coat a roof, or replace a roof is often tied into the cash flow that's developed underneath that roof, the depreciation cycle of the building, and the cash position of the owner. I mean,
Hmm.
you have to understand where they are in their cash position, where they are, how you can help leverage their tax position. Um,
Yeah.
So it's a it's what we call it's a complicated sell.
It's a lot more,
Um,
yeah, it's a lot more involved because they're a business owner and they actually, it's not, so I'm going to guess, and feel free to speak about the homeowner or the home service side is a much more just about getting that thing fixed. I mean, if they're a property,
yeah.
if they're a maintainer or um, those other categories you
So
mentioned, it's going to be a bit different.
yeah, I mean, I think on the residential side, there's a lot of trust building,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of what we our process is we go in and we do a full inspection of the property, and we basically look at everything as far as systems, and we break down an anticipated maintenance cost for 3 to 5 years on each system.
Okay.
If we can look at the serial numbers of your HVAC and your water heater, and we can tell approximately how old they are, and we know a general life cycle of those types of equipment. So if you have a 13-year-old water heater, it probably needs to be replaced post haste. So let's get it done as soon as possible before it causes damage. So we
Hmm.
have those kind of conversations. But if they have a 2-year-old water heater, or if they're moving into a brand new house, then we tell them to replace a water heater today is X price. And if you put a 3 to 5% inflation rate on it, then in 10 to 15 years, you need to be prepared to have kind of this lump sum sitting there
Hmm.
ready to do a
So
replacement
you're
on a
giving them
system.
a maintenance cost over a certain year period, preparing
Yep.
for bigger costs. So you're really giving a whole financial commitment picture
Yeah.
to, and if you're already doing that for the residential side, how much effort do you put in on the commercial side in terms of
So the
working with
commercial
business?
side, they
Like,
generally have this nailed down already. I mean, that's
sure.
if you own a commercial property, you own a commercial property because you want it to cash flow. And if you
Hmm.
want it to cash flow, you need to know its needs. So, I mean, generally, if you're at that level, then you
And so
already
you're
have your
just
cost
slotting in
projections.
there. You mentioned this at the beginning, knowing how people speak, knowing
Mhm.
how what their interests and needs are. And so you're literally, you're actually almost providing that to, what the homeowners are not normally thinking about because you're able to do it for the commercial side.
Yeah.
You're
I
actually
mean,
providing a deeper service for
ultimately, what we're doing is we're taking what we would do for a high level commercial client, and we're simplifying it for a residential homeowner.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, you would be surprised how many people buy a house and not know that they need to spend
Excellent.
1% of the value of the home on maintenance every year.
Hmm. Right.
So
And
if
so
I mean,
bigger value. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the median value on a home in this area is 360,000 now.
Right. And
So
1%. Hmm.
yeah. So, I mean, $3,000 to $4,000 you need to be able to spend just on maintenance.
And then that doesn't even factor in the big changes that may or may not be needed. So,
Correct. Yeah.
wow.
That's just
All right.
maintaining the property as itself.
And then just give a quick picture of how the real estate side then for you fits into it. Are you buying and holding? Are you just flipping properties? Um,
Yeah. So, right. So,
what's the goal with that side of things too? Is that just kind
yeah.
of like a side hustly thing, or are you, hoping to turn that to something bigger as well?
So, I mean, ultimately, one of the assets that we have is that we have 2 or 3 vans on the road right now. They're driving around all the time, going to different properties. So we train the guys that if they see a property that's neglected, then they need to take a picture of it and note the address. So that comes back to the office, and then we have
That
the
is so
ability.
cool. You just I got to point that out. So you've already got guys, because everyone listening, if they're in a trade business, they've got guys out there on the road,
Yeah,
driving around full time,
yeah,
and they are seeing. You're just taking advantage of what they're already seeing,
yep,
and just getting them take a photo, send it in, and yeah, build this whole extra revenue stream.
yeah. And
That's
it's
cool.
and so here's the other thing though. It's like one of the things that we do with our techs. I mean, nobody ever taught me how to manage money. Nobody ever
Mhm.
taught me how to build wealth. So like whenever techs come into our system, and we did this at the roofing company as well, we gave them the opportunity to go through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. So to teach them how to manage budgets and teach them how to manage cash flow. So we offer the same thing now. And when they bring that lead in for a house, I mean, they get $10 just for stopping and getting all the pertinent information. If as long as it fits into our buying box, they get $10 just for submitting it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then after we put them into our mailing system, when that if that lead turns into something, then they get another bonus when we buy it.
Mhm. Oh
And
yeah, when
then
you wow,
yeah.
okay.
And then when we go to rehab it, after they've been through Financial Peace University and they've reached a level 3 or level 4 in the company in our training program, then they have the opportunity, since at this point, as a level 3 or level 4 employee, they already have a Roth IRA set up. So if you have a
Mhm.
Roth IRA set up and it's managed through the company, then we teach you how to do a self-directed IRA, and then you can take your IRA money and you can partner with the company and invest in that
In that
property.
property. Yeah.
So then when whatever profit is made on that property is shared back with you at a pro rata rate for what you invested.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you're able to get you're going to get the same percentage of reward as I do on that property
Wow. So you
because you
and
invested in it.
so not only are you able to service the commercial side, understanding their needs, you're providing that in a simplified and relevant way to homeowners. And then at another level, you're actually going above and beyond in serving your employees, giving them opportunity to educate and grow themselves with a lot of this
So
information.
so I've got two guys that work with me right now. I mean, we're a small company,
Yeah.
but I've told them my goal is to have them at a point in 10 years where they work with me because they want to, not because they have to.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal because I
Yeah.
want them
And
to have the
do they
financial
see
education.
this? So they see this vision. They see this.
So
Like all the pieces. When I say the vision, like do they understand kind of what's being done behind the scenes, or is it still kind of introducing them to it? Because I can see a lot of guys saying, "Look, my techs just want to go out there, do the job, and come back." Rather than have all
yeah,
these extra pieces.
so all of the financial education and the investing and stuff, all of that is voluntary and non-paid.
Mhm.
So we do technical
You're giving
training
them
and
access.
all that's paid time. But everything else that I'm talking about right now that we're doing, all of that is voluntary on their own time. I'm not going to
Mhm.
force you to drink from the well.
Yeah, but the well's here. You set up the well.
Yeah.
You actually created
And I
access
mean,
to it.
and we're pulling water to the top. I mean,
Yeah, just come drink. That's a
yeah,
sermon.
I mean,
That's a sermon.
because it's because yeah, I mean, because I mean, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of relational capital building the relationships that have taught me how to use private money, that have taught me how to use IRAs, that have taught me how to structure things properly where we pay as little as tax as possible. I mean, render unto Caesar what Caesar's, but if Caesar gives me a way to not pay that tax, it's my responsibility to not pay that tax.
To figure out how to use those pathways that he's
100%.
he's given you. Yeah, no. For those who don't understand the Caesar reference, that's like the just another reference to the tax man or what's the is Uncle
It's
Sam
IRS
used as
here.
it? The IRS. Is Uncle
Yeah.
Sam used for that as well, or that's more of a just generic
I mean,
government thing? I'm
that's
obviously Australian, so
it's generic government. Uncle Sam is generic government, but I mean, right now our government is just. I mean, we're not as bad off as the European countries, but it's just confiscatory. I mean, it's
sure.
how much can they take?
Yeah, no, it's well, you're sounds like you're really, really building something special there, Thomas. And
Yeah.
are your kids involved? I think I remember you said your son was kind of going in a financial planning
Yeah.
direction.
So, I
Um,
mean, my daughter helps me right now. I mean, she's in college, but she's in marketing and public relations. So like right now, she's helping me build out our playbook, and she's helping me doing all the writing and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Uh, my son, he's on a job site a couple of days a week. He just got home from an international summer school, but uh, he's finishing his paper for that class now, and on Thursday he'll be painting a house for me. I mean, it's
Hmm.
but
He's doing what you
I mean
did
on
back
a
in the day. He's
exactly
studying and
exactly
yeah, it's just the cycle repeats itself, except in just because I know this is a big generational wealth building concept.
yeah
You're not, before you were maybe working for someone else and doing things differently, but now he's working for you and it's actually keeping a lot of that. You're keeping that internal. When you pay him, he's actually, he's somebody that you're stewarding your own assets for,
yeah.
in
Well, and
terms of
it's
future and all.
we I mean, so we have a family trust set up, and we have our philanthropic arm. But I mean, it gives him the opportunity to fully fund his Roth IRA as a teenager. Well, I mean, he's 20 now.
Mhm.
Gosh, time flies. But I mean, that kid has more in savings than I ever did at his age.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
because I mean, a couple of years ago, I'm looking at a building right across from my office here that we did a full build out on a couple of years ago. And I mean, during the summer, he was able to put away money. And I mean, there
And
he's been
that must
taught
feel
well.
really cool. That must feel
Yeah.
really, really good to be able to just see that it is lasting. It's not
Well, and
lost. You
well,
know?
and it also gives us the ability. I mean, since I've paid that out and he's paid taxes on it, it also, I mean, cash flow management is huge in small business. And that's anybody that's starting a business. Please, if you learn nothing else before you go into business, learn cash flow management. Do not operate on checkbook balances. Have working capital. But I mean, like even now, I mean, we do 300, $400,000 a year just inside business right now. Um, so we're not a big company. So, I mean, there have been times where I've been able to go to my son and borrow money as my business entity, borrow money from him and be able to pay him interest.
Hmm. Yeah,
So, I
instead of
mean,
going to the bank, paying the bank interest, because
yeah,
yeah, no, I love
yeah,
all that stuff. I think that is a level. I mean, obviously, you weren't thinking about that at the very beginning yourself.
no,
And so others who are starting a business, is probably thinking, oh my gosh, there's all these extra things now I need to think about. Um, so what are some simple ways if somebody's hearing this being like, man, there's a whole new world of opportunity that's just opened up with the thought of property managers, the thought of, you know, flipping real estate and getting techs to help out with that. Um, the, and then all the interfamily stuff as well. What would you kind of, in terms of just maybe it's a book, maybe it's something else, how would you encourage people to get started and just be thinking about this sort of thing?
yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the major thing is relationships. All right. So
Hmm.
everything that you're doing is relationship. Um, if you're able and willing to do commercial work and you're able to deal with the pay cycles because they're typically paying on terms. So you're covering cost up front and you're not getting paid for 30, 60, 90, even 120 days. If you're able to absorb that kind of cost structure, then doing commercial work is great because you can go and you can work with one property manager and he might have 15 or 20 properties that he manages. And once you build that relationship and you show that expert level of care, then you have one point of contact that can give you 14 different opportunities. Where on the
Hmm.
residential side, the cash cycle is faster. So you're going to perform a service and get paid for it same day. But when you work with one client, you're working directly with one client. You have to more actively pursue a relationship with that individual and then ask for references. Ask for, not just for references, ask for referrals. Like, who are the top 5 people that you think could help us grow this company and keep providing you the service that you need. And just be aggressive with asking for reviews and asking for referrals.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what about the financial side too? So that's
Yeah,
getting the business going, relationship side. What about that kind of generational wealth
yeah.
side where, oh man,
So
maybe I should be borrowing money from my son, which is not probably most people are not thinking that way, you know?
yeah, but I mean, but your kid has to have it, right?
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah, yeah. So,
but how does your kid have it? Here in the U.S., I can pay my kids up to $14,000 a year with no tax consequence to them.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
and
why
but
would
it's
I
also a
not?
write off for you. So it's actually
Yeah.
it's, mhm.
So, I mean, but they have to provide a legitimate service. So my son provides labor. My son provides. I mean, he's to the point now where he can run a crew. So I'll get two or three temp workers on some of these production jobs, and I'll let him manage that crew. And I can pay him significantly more as a crew manager than I could have as somebody else. And my accountant runs through all these things and he approves all the pay scales. So I mean, it's we make sure that everything's competitive and above board. So I'm not paying him $20,000 to go and stop at a job site and take a picture or anything like that. But I mean, so he's rendering a real service. I pay my
Mhm.
daughter by the hour when she's doing this technical writing. I pay her by the hour. So and we base it off of a fair trade.
Yeah. And so it
Um,
sounds like you're actually just coming up with, ways that suit your kids, but maybe the guiding principle is actually this needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but keeping money inside because
that
from one,
no, that
from
doesn't
one,
that doesn't that doesn't need to be taken with a grain of salt. There's 100% legitimacy to that.
yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Because
because
you're giving it to
so
the children and you're not really giving it away,
no, I mean
you
it's
know?
so because here, I mean my daughter still she works another job
Mhm.
and she's
Yeah.
in school full time. So she fundamentally works three full time jobs. Or not full. She doesn't work for me full time, but she works. She is in college full time, and she works for me as well. So she's working
Right.
three different jobs. So what I've done, and what my wife and I've done, is we're building that mentality of what does it mean to grow generationally significant wealth. So, and the way that we have looked at it is how can we provide for to be a legacy for future generations. So
Mhm.
how can we do that? And what we've kind of decided is that instead of giving direct inheritances and then letting that money get distributed through the generations, we are setting up a family bank.
Mhm.
So that with that family bank, as time goes on, when you need to buy your first home, you can go to the trust and you can present the home that you want. And as long as it fits within your regular income parameters
All
and
right.
you
So
get qualified just like any other loan,
they
then
borrow
the
that
trust,
money and then they pay the
yep,
family bank the interest and it's
they,
actually,
yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then so then the next generation has the ability to buy two houses.
Because they've got the money paid back and the interest payments now
Yeah.
inside the family bank.
Yep.
It sounds too simple, but there would be a
It,
lot of, it's
it's,
great.
it's,
I
it's,
love these conversations because
yeah.
it's inspiring because, you said you did not come from money that, would normally think that this sort of thing's possible, but you
Yeah.
apply yourself, you work hard, create those relationships, learn, and
Well, and it was, and frankly, it was when I got into the real estate world that I found
began
mentors
thinking about this sort of thing.
yeah. I mean, because
Yeah.
I started to associate with people that thought on a different pay scale.
hmm
And
hmm
I mean,
Yeah.
I had always thought about a pay scale of how much money do I need to exist today
Yeah.
instead of how can I cover costs, cover expenses, cover future needs, and make a profit. I mean,
hmm
and I mean, I was a very bad steward of my own time and resources for a long time.
Sure. which
And
it should be an encouragement as well to anyone listening, because you don't need to have all this stuff figured out right away.
no,
You
but
get it.
ask good advice. Go to people that have done this before, that
Mhm.
you trust, that have a good reputation. I mean, and ask.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I mean, that we in the Christian church, we have a tradition of elders. And those elders are people they've been around the block. They know
They've
what
got
they're doing.
experience
They've
and
got
they're committed
experience.
to sharing it
Yeah.
with others. Yeah. Yeah.
So those and I'm not, and I don't necessarily mean they have to be church elders, but go to people that have succeeded in the ways that you want and ask them for help. And
And
if
you'll be
they see it,
amazed how much they want to give it.
oh, they want to. They absolutely want to.
Yeah.
And I've had gentlemen give me hours and hours of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And and
And
it,
it's cool. I'm just going to point this out for people because it feels like a bit of a, I don't know what sort of moment you call it, where you kind of step out of your body and you see something. But like, just see the flow on effect here, because you said ask for good advice, but I know another thing you've said you're committed to is giving good advice too,
100%. Yeah.
right? And so just like you literally just said, these people will give you hours of their time. And we're at an hour and 31 minutes here on this podcast. And, you're giving this value to me, you're giving this value to the audience. And so if the first person you ask hasn't got the time, the second one will, kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, and again, it goes back to communities. I mean,
Mm.
it, there are, the real estate community is one of the most loving and caring and providing and giving communities that I've ever met. And that there are a couple of networks that are run by Christians and operated in a way that offers that same kind of benefit, and we all have the same kind of giving mentality. There's one gentleman in our group that his his the charity that he owns builds wheelchairs and distributes wheelchairs around the third world, not just like American wheelchairs where you can ride around on concrete. They build special wheelchairs that are easy to maintain, that can go into a third world village, and you can repair them with bicycle parts. I mean, so just very intentional about how can we provide something that somebody can use, and not just dump our stuff. We're not going to Goodwill and buying 5 wheelchairs and going to distribute them.
Yeah. I
So
mean, this back to the beginning, the guiding principle, literally the Bible says they're the greatest commands, that sums up the whole thing: loving God and loving people. And I'm just amazed. It's just to hear how cool the story is and where things have gone and the connections, because that was the guiding principle, I would say. Not because when people focus just on building the business, you actually miss out on all those other opportunities. And so that is really, how about share a bit about your charity as well? I wanted to make sure, because you mentioned there's a charitable aspect to it. I know it's still early days
yeah,
for the business, but what are your hopes for that side of things? Yeah, I assume you're not building wheelchairs as well.
no. I mean, I mean, my wife and I, we we've gone down to Belize several times. We go down there. There are several families and communities that we work with down there that we help with some education expenses. We help with we every year we go down and we build either housing or last year we went down and built a building for a school, for a dormitory. But we have, uh, and that's what we do. I mean, we as a group we go down and we have we have half of the group that goes and takes care of medical needs. So we have several nurses and doctors and ophthalmologists and PAs, and they go and they handle all of the medical needs. So they go into communities and they spend days just doing regular checkups. And we live in an area that has a lot of access to pharmaceuticals, just because of another couple of Christian families in the area that have that own a pharmaceutical company. But what they do is then take all of the expired and drugs that come out of the US system that are still perfectly good, but they've reached a theoretical expiration date. So that organization that's in our community then will provide those drugs to us to take to a third world country where we're able to give people the vitamins they need, or the deworming medication that they need, or the diabetic care medications. So like all of these things just kind of flow into giving.
Yeah.
So, and then the other side of that same trip, there's 8 or 10 of us guys, sometimes 10 or 12, and we'll go down and the community that lives and believes identifies a family that needs a house. Because like there was, I mean, one year there was a lady that had moved into Belize from Guatemala. Uh, Her husband had been murdered in some kind of conflict, and she had 2 kids. So I mean, she was living with her family in Belize, and we were able to build a house for them. She was literally living in a grass hut. Um, and we were able to put them in a house in a week.
Wow.
And I mean, it's just
That's real special.
there's another year we went down and we built housing for an organization that gave shelter to abused women. So I mean, it's just it's being able to take the skills and the resources that we have and
Right. So
then
charity is not
provide it to
just
somebody else.
financial based. You actually provide, skills and giving others the opportunity to utilize their skills for that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Well, and it's and like I've already talked to one of our techs about taking him this year. I mean, because he's grown up in this area. He hasn't traveled very much. He doesn't have a passport. Um, but I I've made it a point for my kids to see how people live outside of Western culture.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to be said, and it's very eye opening when you go and you see what a favela is, or what real poverty is. And
Yeah.
you sit on the ground and you play with that young girl that comes out of a one room shelter, not even a house. She comes out of a one room shelter, and she has her little box of dolls that are like little miniature figures. And she sits down and she says, "Mr. Thomas, sit down, play with me." And you sit, and this is all the possessions that this young girl has, because that's literally what her family can provide. And and us as a community being able to provide for the education of her brothers, and ultimately when she is old enough to go to school, to provide for her education. Like, there's a path out. There's a way that allows them to grow past where their parents are, and to be involved in that, and not just by writing a check and sending it to
Yeah.
some organization, but to being able to know their names and to play with their toys, and know that the next time that we come down, that she said that she wanted a Barbie, but she really didn't even know what a Barbie was. She just knew the word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
like
so sweet.
yeah. So I mean, and then being able to talk to a young man that doesn't really have a father figure in his life, that it doesn't really want to go to school,
Mm.
but to work with his uncle, who's a dear friend of mine, and then being able to help mentor him and help understand of like, how can we influence him? What can we do to help keep him on a path that doesn't have him ending up living the same life that he has?
Yeah. No, that's beautiful,
So,
Thomas. I
I mean, I
love
think
the vision. Love it.
ultimately, I mean, my when I look at the end goal, and I would love to ultimately have a profit producing acreage in Central America, or South America, Belize area, that is an operating farm that allows to, one, grow assets for a family, two, provide dignified work for families and provide education for the kids. I
Mhm.
mean, that's what I want to be able to do.
That's exciting. And we did a session a little while ago. I was with a coaching business group, and the whole session was on this overcoming this secular and sacred divide. And so, for those who don't know, the word secular is kind of used in Christian terms to just say things that are not overtly Christian. So working in HVAC, working in plumbing, um, doing financial education, those things would be classified as secular. It's not negative, it's just not directly Christian. And then we have things that are sacred, which we would say are. And this whole session was on not seeing those things as separate and actually
Mhm.
making all those commonly seen as secular things, making them sacred. And that overarching principle, again, loving God, loving people, has I mean, you're already doing it. You're educating your team members and staff, giving them opportunities to grow and build with you. You're doing it presently for your kids. And so it'll be really exciting to see almost that same thing happen with this charity and the Belize hope that you have. Because yeah, I see it's not just the immediate short-term work, it's teaching them asset stewardship,
Yeah,
in the assets that are relevant to them, not imposing what those assets should be and turning them into an American, or
yeah.
turning them into, kind of a more first world way of doing
Well, and
things.
and also, I mean, so several of the books that I've been reading, I mean, they talk about the long term. If you really want to establish generational wealth, you're not looking 3 generations down. You need to be looking 5, 6, 7 generations down. You need to be building those leadership structures and hierarchies inside of your family and training them to take the initiative and to understand what they have. So, I mean, even though it might be a very small trust today, in 4 or 5 generations, it can be massive trust
Mhm.
that has true, I mean, even global impact. I mean, we see this today with several of the, I mean, in the American political scene, there are several
Major
organizations that
families
are
or
that are
organizations.
major family money that are doing things that I would say are rather sketchy. But I
That's
mean,
always a thing, staying pure when things get to a certain size and the number of
yeah.
people involved. That's, you got to know where you come from and what you're aiming for.
So I mean, and that's and I can send you a book list if you want, but like
Yeah.
the concept is letting there be the same hierarchy and the same structure inside your family organization and running it like a family business instead of it just being this bare trust that just gets passed on and sent out. You need to
Sure.
operate it and so that you can have shared values and shared goals.
Mhm.
And you need to let the kids run it at a younger age and look to an advisor and an elder class for advice. And then to have some senior members. So you have basically a senior kind of elders that kind of just give advice. And then
Mhm.
you have an operating age where
Where they're
they're the
actually doing
middle-aged people that are
they're
actually
doing
doing the
it.
work.
Yeah, they've got
And
their joints are still all
yeah,
there, and
but then you've got the younger generation of kids that have the
they
same
need to learn from
access.
both. Yeah,
That
yeah.
yeah, that so you have the operating class and then you have the elder class that basically has kind of a not really a veto power, but they have the ability to step in and kind of say, let's really reconsider here. And then
Mhm.
you've got their operating class that's listening to the ones below and then having
Ah,
clear demarcations where you're moving people up into those roles and you're
it's so
celebrating that
against the
transition of a role.
right. It's so against the spirit of the age. Or there's a theological term that I really like
Yeah, the
saying it. The
zeitgeist.
zeitgeist. The zeitgeist. It sounds so
Yeah.
intense. It's a German, literally means spirit of the age. And that, and I think even people that are not in a Christian space can understand what we mean by that. Um, just the spirit of something and this age and how it's different to other previous generations. I mean, how often are we seeing young people, and I, my generation, um, deciding that they know what's best, and that the operating class, the older class people above them who actually have that experience, they don't know how this world works. They don't know it. It's
Yeah.
just so leaves such a distaste in my mouth, the thought
Yeah.
of that. And you're really in such a beneficial way. I mean, unfortunately, the zeitgeist is going to say that some of what you're saying sounds oppressive. What do you mean an elder can step in and do this and do that? I'm like, well, there's a really good reason for why that's, and we see that really explicitly in the Bible. Older men teaching younger men, older women teaching younger women. It's like a
Yeah.
real key part of how community, not just families, but just community in general, is meant to
Yeah.
function.
And if you want an asset pool like that to last for generations, it can't be run by a dispassionate third party trust advisor, because then it just becomes a pool of money that you go to use as a tool.
Right.
But I don't want to leave a tool for my kids. I want to leave a legacy for my kids that then they can turn around and leave to theirs. And
Sure. Because,
that legacy
yeah.
is of providing for them, but then also giving them not only the opportunity, but the responsibility to execute the, the philanthropic and the charity arm of the same trust, because
Hmm.
they have to give away 5% a year.
That is what you just said there, a tool versus a legacy. Because when you think of it like a tool, it makes sense why by the third or fourth generation there's nothing left, because the
Yeah.
tool's dulled and there's nothing you can use it for. But when you're saying you're creating a legacy, it's not just like a marketing term, we want to sound cool. You're actually this belief and mindset of creating value, giving value, getting good advice, giving good advice, um, is going to keep. It's just going to keep pushing out the tool getting dull, because
Yeah.
each generation is resharpening it and adding to it even.
Yeah. And
That.
they're becoming responsible for it.
Mhm.
And they, I mean, there's a, we've in the West, we have lost the idea of a young man and a young woman being able to bear their own weight.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of families that will pass along wealth to their kids or some kind of inheritance that they don't require the kid to bear their own weight before they get it. And and that creates issues. And again, I'll give you a little book list, but um and
That'd be
they
really
talk
good.
about this, in several of these books that I've read, where it's, I mean, part of it is building the relationship inside the family so that the family is cohesive and you have intergenerational conversations, and the organization pulls everybody together once or twice a year, and you share that time with each other, and you build a set of family goals, and you build a set of I mean, not only goals for the trust, but also goals for the charitable arm. And how are we going to execute that? I
Yeah.
mean, if if your cousin, sorry, if your brother wants to start a business and we all sit down together and we look at that business plan, how much better is that business plan going to be after,
Then them
say,
just running, yeah, off on their own.
yeah. I mean, my son has voiced an interest in getting a JD with an emphasis in economics. So he'd be a lawyer with basically a degree in tax. And then my daughter, who's going to do public relations and marketing. And then my wife and I, who've run and operate a business. And my wife was a school teacher for years, so she's got that heart and that background. So what is it like when one of their kids comes to the trust and says, "I want to start a business, and this is what I've put together, and I need to borrow $100,000 to start the business."
Mhm.
And then as the family, we can come around them, critique that business plan, help them structure it, and say, okay, well, maybe you need 75 to start with, and then we'll give you a credit line of 25 or another 100 to work on after that. But
Hmm.
I mean, just figure out a way to structure it that helps them out and gives them the generational advice that they wouldn't get by going to just a regular
Yeah, financial
going to their
advisor or
going
just
going to
going
their
to a
C
bank.
going yeah, going to their
Yeah.
CPA to get advice.
Hmm.
CPAs are tax preparers. They're not business advisors.
Yeah. So what? Okay, maybe let's finish on this because I mean I could just keep talking. This is really good. The because in my family business they've done a lot of business together. My parents' generation,
Mhm.
and one of the questions I think for a large part they've actually done quite well on what I'm about to ask you, but one of the fears that people do have or don't expect to be a problem is the conflict that can so easily arise
Yeah,
when money is inter entwined in one
entwined,
another.
yeah.
And so, what would be an assurance or an encouragement to anyone who maybe has wanted to do this but thought, man, my brother's this and that, or it's how I don't want to. Maybe they have a good relationship and like I just don't want to add complexities that could wreck that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What, yeah, what are your
So I
thoughts on
mean,
that sort of risk?
there's always a concern of that.
Mm,
And there's always anytime you have a large amount of assets, there's opportunity for abuse.
mhm.
Um, so when you set up those tiers of elders and operators and advisors, they have to have a certain amount of communication and trust with each other.
Yeah,
So once those things are in place, if you decide that you no longer want to be a part of that, then you have the opportunity to step out. Nobody's going to keep you in. Um, and there's with great assets, there are also great responsibilities. So there's also the idea that you can step out, but you can always step back in.
sure.
So it's it's the prodigal child. It's the concept of being able to learn and grow. I mean,
Mm,
I have failed tremendously in my life. I have I am no saint. I mean, with all of my theological background, and I am a sinner saved by grace. But in that being saved by grace, I've also experienced grace. I've been taken back in when I've failed other people. I've experienced great moments where I have lied and I've slandered somebody, but I've been able to go to them and ask for forgiveness and repent. And they've taken me back under their arm, and I still have a great relationship with them 25 years after the fact. And this is a man that's 40 years older than I am. And it, and like now I see his grandkids at church, and he sees me and we have great conversation. And like the, so even though there is the opportunity for harm, there's also the opportunity for good.
yeah, yeah.
And, and knowing that, and knowing on the front end and planning on the front end that as you build generational wealth, one of the keys to that is bringing in generational partners, because every spouse that comes in
Right,
is a generational addition from a third party. So they don't
right.
have the same historical background. They don't have the same social background. They don't have the same context of your family. So how do you openly accept and bring that person in and set that mile mark or that guide stone of you are now a part of the family.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
that's what I was going to say. The sounds like just clarity. I know
yeah,
that we're maybe overusing the SOP acronym, but really that's what it is in terms of having clear expectations and clear paths for people to take so that there isn't
yeah,
this undue indebtedness and bitterness, resenting. You're having those frequent catch ups, and for whatever. is in any individual person's best interest and hope, at least from their perspective, there's a pathway for that they agreed to beforehand.
Yeah.
I think maybe the
Well,
biggest issue comes when you're just working out everything ad hoc on the fly.
and you have real business meetings. I mean,
Hmm.
you all get together at the same resort and you have 3 days of legitimate business meetings.
Yeah.
And you
This
say,
is this is family. So people do the
yeah,
family holiday, like turn the family holiday, just like businesses will do a big thing, getting all the employees together to build that camaraderie and
yep,
relationship. Like do that with the family, but then have this purpose involved as well, where you are building something meaningful.
yeah. And it's not only a tool for the family that needs to be maintained and sharpened and kept in good shape, but it's also a resource for the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I mean, the charity arm comes out of that same trust and they have to give away a certain percentage every year. So how do you sit down together as a family and say, what do
Where are we
we as
giving
a
this? Yeah.
family care about?
Yeah.
What
That
what what
creates a real needed space to have conversations about that.
yeah,
Because when you have to give away a certain amount of money, it's like, oh, and we have to decide together. And suddenly you're having a real intimate conversation of what people care about,
yeah, I
which,
was gonna say it
and
shows you where your priorities are.
yeah,
And
which
it's
is just, it's cool. It's
and
cool.
the thing is like, and you can stipulate on the front end, like you can, I mean, the family organization can sit down and say, this year everything is going to one organization,
Mm-hmm.
or this year we're splitting it between 3 priorities. What are the 3 priorities? And it ultimately it becomes the opportunity for every generation to have their own voice and to bring new voices in and to bring new causes in. But it also, I mean, it's such a teaching tool
Mm.
because I can't wait for the day until one of my grandkids comes in and
And
says, this is the charity that I want to go, that I want money to go to. And this is why. And I want them
yeah,
to stand up there and I want them to make the best argument that they can. And ultimately their reward for building that case and providing that resource to the family is seeing the family coalesce and saying, we're rewarding your charity.
mm-hmm.
And
And
that's
it's all started from, uh, you know, you and your dad fixing what needed to be fixed.
yeah,
And now it's built. You kept fixing what needed to be fixed. And now we've got this amazing dream. This is exciting, Thomas.
yeah. I mean, it's not just a dream. I mean, it's things that are already put in place. And
Mm,
this is
it's
the one thing that I
happening.
want to, yeah, this is one thing I want to encourage people is that no matter how big your business is, you can always give.
Mm,
I mean, giving. So
agreed.
there's a particular charity in town that we know and that they know us. And when people come to them, and if they have an HVAC issue or if they have a plumbing issue or something else, they know that they can call us, and we have a certain amount of our time that's dedicated for charitable
Yeah, of
giving.
course. Yeah.
So we can send a tech to go clear a drain at somebody's house. I mean, we did one a while back. I mean, it's a 90-year-old lady. She's on a very fixed income. I mean, she had all kinds of grease build up in her lines. So we're able to go and clear the lines out, and we use a hot water jetter and clean everything out. And we teach her and we sit down with her and we say, "Man, we
Try and do
can't
this
pour
and
the
this.
bacon grease down the lines." I mean, like, but it gives us those kind of opportunities. And to have a tech go out on paid time and know that he's doing that and share that vision, because that's the other thing. I mean, we hire people that share the vision.
Mm,
If you don't
yeah.
share the vision, then you don't need to be here.
Yeah. That's
So,
really, no, it's good. Well, it's having an impact on anyone, everyone really that kind of engages with the business, family wise, employee wise, client wise.
well,
Yeah,
I mean, we even tell our clients that are paying full price. I mean,
sure.
part of what you pay goes to support this charity and allows us to do charity in the community.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, we don't make any bones about it. I mean, we are one of the higher priced organizations out there, but but we also let you know why. I mean, you're getting quality, you're getting service, and you're getting
You're actually
reliability.
becoming part of something as well, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Well, I mean, I don't ever want anybody to pat me on the back for doing what we're doing. But I
Mhm,
mean, we, we when we send out a newsletter and we let people know that as a family, as one call service group and a client thereof, you have helped this person. And we built this building with the funds that you provided
mhm.
through you supporting our company as an organization. So they know that and they get that in the regular email.
Awesome, Thomas. What's the last word to, especially considering the people that are going to be listening, just people in the trades industry, thinking about starting their own business in maybe they're kind of a good amount of time into starting their own thing.
Yeah.
What would be just the last real encouraging word after all that we've spoken about and all that you've experienced?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing would be one that I failed on several years, and that's making your family a priority. I mean, loving and caring for your family well. And
Yeah.
because once you start making those decisions based on loving and caring for your family and not necessarily just providing, because you can provide for them and fail them.
Yeah, because providing's part of loving, but loving's not necessarily part of providing, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I mean, and I've lived I've lived a fairly meager life, and I know what it means to eat rice and beans, and I also know what it means to sit down and have a really good dry aged steak. Um, but some of the best family togetherness and family time that we've ever had have been at stuff like church picnics. I mean, one of the great things we did, I mean, Redeemer Prez down in New Orleans during crawfish season, we would go down to the Fly and we would all have a crawfish boil together, and the church would put it on. And I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
those are, I mean, I still cherish those memories. And
That's
it's
one of my favorite
opportunities like
memories,
that.
being there in America, the fish fries and those, I forget what they call, what you just said, broil things, and it's
Yeah,
just
it's
all,
you were in South Carolina, so that would have been a low country boil.
it's good. I love it.
Yeah.
No, real good. And so it sounds like it's not just family, like, yes, prioritize that, but even in a broader sense, the people that aren't family, who are your family, the community
Yeah.
side
I mean,
too.
again, scripture talks about loving your neighbor, and then it talks about who your neighbor is. So it starts with your family, and then it goes to your geographic neighbors, and then it goes to your community, and then it goes to your broader community, and ultimately the ends of the earth. And that's where, I mean, you have to make it a point that your family's taken care of, all of their needs, their emotional needs, their physical needs, their financial needs. You need to make sure that your employees are taken care of. You need to make sure that your community has what it needs,
Yeah.
and that you're a resource to the community, not just as a resource, as something to get paid, as a company that gets paid to do something, but a resource that's already giving back to the community and it's engaged. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
so it's
Well,
so it's I mean, again, it's going back to, hey, if you've got a problem and you call in and you don't necessarily want us to come do the work, let me patch you through to one of my techs that knows how to do it. I mean, and we'll walk you through it. And that's and we've told people that. I mean, we're here
yeah,
for you. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and that would be my encouragement, building on that, because one of the things you're saying, having those priorities straight, and so that family that you've been entrusted with, that's another asset. Family is it
Yeah.
sounds intent, sounds, but that's a responsibility and something that has value.
It's
Um,
it's one of the greatest responsibilities. I mean, it's
mhm.
it's
It,
it's it's God putting a man and a woman together and then blessing them with a child that there's no way you can get a natural born child without it being a blessing of God. It
yeah,
just can't be done.
that's right. That's right. And so I guess, and then my encouragement, with that is really where we started. You've got that guiding principle that helped you know what the priorities were, helped you make the right calls. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be one of my encouragements just to anyone listening. You know, you know, Thomas, myself are going to say that the God and all that God is for us in Jesus is actually that. It's the only guiding principle that's really going to, you know, hold everything together as it should. But
Yep.
wherever you're at with that, just find the best guiding principle you can. You need something that you're pursuing, and so in our case, love God and love people has been
I
that.
mean, I would make the case that God is calling his people. So if you're in a place where you're thinking, well, I need to understand what that guiding principle is. I need to understand what is something that that is the bigger picture, that is the larger cause in the world. Um, God calls us to him, and he says that the rocks will cry out. I mean, so the witness is there. We can't logically look at anything in the world and come up with another idea than a sovereign God that is an intentional creator. It can't be
Oh yeah.
done. I was talking to a young man today at lunch, um, and he's from Egypt. He's he's Islamic, and just having the conversation with him and and putting the concepts of Islam and Christianity next to each other, and just understanding and asking him questions that describe the value of life. How does Islam value life versus how does Christianity value life?
Mhm.
And just posing those questions and taking time. I mean, one of my techs had a flat tire. So we're out there trying to fix the flat tire, and the cook at the restaurant comes out, and we're able to sit, and Alex and I are able to talk to him and see where he's from and what he's doing, and ultimately end up in a conversation that wholly and naturally ends up in the sovereignty of God and how he is here and
And that
has the
happens because you
ability to see
care.
things.
It happens because you genuinely care about the people you're talking to, and so yeah, when you've seen it have an impact on you in such a way, how could you not want
Yeah.
that for others? And so, hey, and that's why I'm so thankful for your time here. We're going to need to do this again, Thomas, because I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot
Anytime.
more we could talk about. So thank you. And yeah, there'll be ways people can learn more about you around this episode. So thanks everyone for taking the time to watch it.